Alright, seems like we're recording. Using my webcam for a change. Camera's battery's low, blah blah blah. So I thought I'd do some of this magic sandwich show thing, and it's obviously nothing to see, you know, so I'll just play it. I'll do an analysis of what happened. So anyway, I called with the agenda to discuss, you know, the problem with derived energy, and just make people aware of it. Like, here's a guy in jail for marijuana joints, and I thought the extended conversation could be about exactly, you know, what approach is best. Is the approach to keep negotiating for these individual cases, or should the approach be something more aggressive to create some sort of system or mechanism that makes it possible for human beings to interact with people that have basically insane laws that are unintuitive to people's lifestyle and sensibilities. You know, where, you know, theoretically you could get thrown in jail in Indonesia because you say, boy, I think Muslims suck, or something on a bus. You know, some kind of crazy thing could happen just because of your instincts aren't the same as theirs. So anyway, we'll just see what happens here. Play the video, please.
I've got a few people that wanted to join us. And the next person to join us is someone that has been on the show before. I think it's probably someone that most people are familiar with. And because he's changed his name, I can't find him.
I mean, I didn't really change my name. I left the same signature on it, but whatever. I mean, I put DoNotGod in Mendham, and my real name was there too. But, you know, so I guess he just didn't feel like reading the whole thing. But anyway, so Chabich, somebody had been commenting on somewhere. I saw a comment of his talking about DPR Jones and how me and DPR Jones, you know, have some battle because I am not a big fan of whatever Doctors Without Borders, Certificate Murphy Beverday. Yeah, and I'd rather have like doctors with ethical conscience. I think that would be good, or doctors with some kind of rational standards. I think that would be a good idea. Doctors who don't frickin' help the enemy, you know, kind of thing. Doctors for civilization. Maybe that's a good word. Civilizationist. I'll be a civilizationist, thank you. Well, anyway. So I don't want to distract, but just for context, I don't think I think DPR Jones is grown up enough not to take the fact that I, personally, have an opinion that's different than his about something as some sort of reason why me and him have to personally be at war. I don't think we have a personal war. We might not think each other, I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't know. I think we could have a rational conversation over dinner. But whatever. So I think it's just bullshit to contrive some reason why DPR Jones feels some need to do something negative, and so that I don't think there was anything there. Now these other two players, Concordance and Thunderfoot, now those two are infants. So that's a difference. That's a different category. Aaron Ra didn't say anything. Yeah, so the guy that really looks like a hippie didn't say anything.
Let me just have a look. And he said, oh yes, actually.
And perhaps that's out of his protest. Maybe he's protesting in Mendham. Wouldn't that be ironic if Aaron Ra was protesting in Mendham? Wouldn't that be ironic? Yeah, that would be ironic, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, we now have evidence that there are reptilians in government, Concordance. Your persistent shape-shifting.
Alright, so now, you know, throughout the whole conversation, these infants are sitting there talking about the fact that, you know, like this my webcam produces this digital effect, right? So, yeah, Concordance usually has his little cartoon character digital effect, because somehow, whatever. And it kept popping off, and so therefore you could see him. And this is what they banter about. This is what serious cancer researchers and whatever, microbiologists or whatever the other guy is, Thunderfoot, this is what they consider worthy conversation for a forum where you have an audience and other people are listening, and they should care about this trite crap. Yeah, sorry, no sale.
You know, if we've seen it here, it's only logical that it happens in government as well.
No, I'm the only one.
Gary, it's always a pleasure.
You can trust me entirely.
Getting on.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, so, I mean, DPR Jones says, Gary, it's good to see you again. Yeah, let's go another round, see how things go. It'll probably be a farce, but yeah, what the hell. I mean, so obviously, there's no tension between me and DPR Jones. Come on.
Hear you very well. I'm always somewhat frightened by what you're going to discuss.
Well, I'm going to be mostly
some sort of shop with us, and then
I think you look very
after you've been on the show.
Yeah, so Concordance tried to interrupt DPR Jones and me, which is funny. I mean, that's just your nature, okay? I mean, some of this interruption stuff just happens because that's how it is in real life. You have more of a equal thing, and so you get used to doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, it really doesn't work in these forums too well. But anyway, Concordance was saying something, I don't know, nice. But then he said, I should find the exact quote. I mean, in the chat to DPR Jones, he said something that was kind of unnecessarily rude. Yeah, I think that's what you could maybe call it. Let's see, where the hell did it go? Where's my Med Sandwich show? Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, I'm asking way too much from this computer at the moment. Okay, so he said somewhere in the conversation, I like a shot here. So I guess he's communicating with DPR Jones. And then Concordance next is what DPR Jones apparently said. I'll go to you next to say something. And then after the conversation, after they kicked me off, taking a break. Hopefully we'll have a better caller next. Yeah, so these are all snarkies. Like, yeah, right. Well, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Continuing.
You always go off and make a video about it and saying how terribly you were treated on the show. So, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, well, that's the game of arguing, right? It's always from everybody's perspective. But this, it's kind of a serious issue. A YouTuber, a YouTube atheist, he was also an anti-natalist, but a British citizen, was arrested in Indonesia in February for 2 marijuana joints and a little bit of dust. Okay, less than a gram of dust of marijuana. He's been in jail for almost 90 days now, with we have no contact with him. We're trying through the embassy, all the rest of this stuff. But he's facing 4 to 12 years in Indonesian prison for possession of 2 marijuana joints. I think it's discriminatory prosecution. I think it's discriminatory enforcement of the law. I've never heard of somebody for facing Indonesian prison for possession of marijuana.
Yeah, so I was trying to make the point that it's traditionally, it's been my understanding that it's people trafficking in drugs who face these horrible circumstances, and I still have empathy for them and still think we should do something to rescue them, but obviously that's a more deliberate breaking of the law. It's a more overt statement that I'm going to make money in your country selling drugs, and so it's a really kind of overt. You really don't, you can't just say I made a mistake.
Okay, trafficking, yes. Possession, I don't know of any cases of British or American citizens being incarcerated in some of the worst prisons in the world.
I'll give you an example that occurred only this week. There were 3 British people, and it'll take me a moment to remember the country. It wasn't Saudi. It was close to Saudi, and they were caught in possession. They went there on holiday. They were caught in possession, apparently, allegedly, of marijuana, and they have, I think, got 12 years in prison. So it's not unheard of.
Well,
also.
Yeah, well, I don't think I was making the point that it's not unheard of, and so that's sort of just a long. What's the purpose of that exactly? I guess I suppose it's interesting. Okay, if there are other cases that we should know about these other cases, I would like to know about them. So I just hadn't seen any for possession. And if you're saying that you're comfortably sitting in your house thinking about somebody going to jail for 12 years for possessing a marijuana joint, and you're okay with that, I'm not okay with you. I mean, that's just disgusting. Sorry. We don't give frickin' child molesters 12 fucking years. How can you think it's appropriate and correct and decent and right and rational and reasonable? Reasonable. How is it in the realm of reasonable? Shouldn't we demand something within the realm of reasonable proportion here in the treatment of your citizens when they go travel to these other countries that we're pretending we get along with?
Someone in Thailand who was, she was convicted of actually trafficking, who's now facing the death penalty in Thailand.
Well, like I said, I think we all know.
What I'm saying is it's not unique, Gary.
Well, I'm just saying I think it might be a new trend. I'm just saying that my traditional understanding was that there was traffickers that faced this horror. Okay.
Right. So this seems like a huge distraction right from the beginning, right? So here's distraction number one. I'm trying to bring up the case of this individual, and he's bringing up other cases as if to diminish this case in terms of its significance or relevance. And maybe I should have said, okay, maybe there's other people in jails for crazy, stupid enforcement law. But I just don't see, this doesn't, I'm trying to get to the subject, and see, I just can't quite get there yet.
And that it wasn't necessarily just possessors. And so I'm just saying that these laws are incredibly draconian, and I'm and other people are trying to fight a battle to stop this, and so I'm going more aggressive. There's some people who want to just, try to do everything they can to get this individual person out. I want to get this individual out, but what I really want to do is say, no, we can't negotiate with these terrorists. This is a kind of terrorism, in my opinion. His life is ruined. The lives of all the people who care about him are totally disrupted. We're going to be financially and emotionally destroyed for the future, realizing that a friend of ours is sitting in this hellhole. I don't think we should have diplomatic relations with countries that do this for people for crimes that aren't even crimes. This isn't a crime against a human being. This is
All right, so now here comes Thunderfoot's interruption. All right, so this isn't a crime against a human being, so I'm just trying to get to the point that this isn't a crime, okay? This isn't child molesting. This isn't wife beating. This isn't child abuse. This isn't beating your dog. This is an offense against God, and again, you could argue that societies have a right to have some sort of regulation regarding the consumption of these items, but again, doesn't it really, it seems a little silly to have penalties so high for minor possession. Then how can you even control importation and the rest of those things, because everything else has to be a death penalty? If you're going to make the penalty for possession so high, how can you have a graduated system? You can't really have anything. And again, I would think the argument would be that you stop importation would be the priority.
Oh, you know what? Do you know what he was doing in Indonesia?
Yeah, he works.
Okay, so what was he doing in Indonesia? Now, how the hell could that possibly be relevant? Is there really a relevant answer to that? Short of me saying something like, I suppose, I guess if he won a Lucky Charms holiday vacation contest on a cereal box, and he decided, I won the contest, I'm going to go. And so you could sort of argue that, it really wasn't his choice to go to Indonesia, but he won a contest. You really can't not go to Indonesia, and so that might be some reason to think that maybe he wasn't quite prepared for the fact that he's got to be a different kind of human being if he goes to Indonesia. Or maybe the answer could be, I just decided I wanted to die, and so I thought this was a good way to die. But isn't what Thunderfoot's doing here the same thing as me saying when somebody's talking about somebody who's a rape victim, and now I'm just going to start saying things like, well, how short was your miniskirt? What's the difference?
Works he's an English teacher, and he works abroad. So he's worked in Saudi Arabia. He's worked in all these other countries before, and he's apparently navigated these countries successfully. And maybe he was feeling a little arrogant, a little bit confident, and he didn't realize that he was going to get himself in awfully big trouble.
So I think it's just a very eloquent way to say he made a mistake. And should the price for a mistake Should we say that American citizens who make mistakes, who think they can control themselves or not do something stupid in another country, if they make the mistake of not realizing they can't do it and they fall into this problem, we should just say, tough shit? I don't think we should do that.
Yeah, if I remember rightly, all of the countries in that neck of the woods have very severe punishments for drug-related offences. In fact, if I remember rightly, someone was telling me one of these, I think it was Thailand, might have been Indonesia, one of these, and when you're coming into land...
yeah, so what? Again, why is this relevant? They all have bad policies. How is that relevant to the fact that we should say they're too bad? That's what the argument is these are too bad a policy. They're not just bad policies, they're too bad. They're excessive, beyond acceptably bad policies. That's the subject I wanted to talk about.
There's the polite little announcement. We hope you've enjoyed the flight. The luggage will be picked up at carousel number 3, and there is a mandatory death sentence for drug trafficking. Yeah,
well, whatever. Like I said, I mean, if we start applying our law like that, it's a really expedited way to do law, right? I mean, if you want to discourage behavior and try to control people, the easiest way to do it is to find one victim and just beat the motherfucking hell out of them. Right? So you're just endorsing that as being a justice system. Not proportional justice, but disproportional justice for the purpose of terrorizing your citizens into conformance. Isn't that what it comes down to? You just want to terrorize your citizens into conforming to the law. And the easiest way to do it is to squish or harm or torture even. Like I said, why don't we just go back to the public pillory? Would that be civilization? No, I don't think it would be.
In this country. Yeah, I mean, so it really is, I don't know why, but it's way up there in terms of what they regard as...
If I may, this is what I wanted to move on to with Gary, if I may, Gary. I mean, obviously, I suspect you're someone that doesn't believe that marijuana should be, or possession should be a criminal offence, but just in more general terms, I think that
I don't even think that's obvious. I don't even think that's obvious that it shouldn't be a criminal offense. But a criminal offense means what? A $50 fine in a foreign country, maybe a $2,000 fine, a $10,000 fine. You shouldn't be in a dungeon for marijuana. God damn.
To impose whatever laws it sees fit in that particular country, whether you agree with them or not.
No, I mean, I don't think you could have a law that says it's okay.
Okay, so now I clearly said I don't agree with what you just said, right? I said no, right? That's what I said. I said no. Okay, I don't think, and then I'll explain the laws. I would just, if I had to do over again, I would have said witch burning right here. I would have said no. If a country is burning witches or squashing jaywalkers with a steamroller, no, I don't think we should have diplomatic relations with them.
Okay, to beat women or something. I think it would be rational for a civilized country to say we're not going to have relations with a country that says eats its children or does, imprisons children for, stealing candy and cuts their arms off or something. I mean, there's video in some of these countries of, Iranians or something like running over a child's arm because it got caught shoplifting. We shouldn't have diplomatic relations with uncivilized countries. We shouldn't do business with them. We shouldn't agree to shake their hand and have supper with them. We just shouldn't be exposed to this at all. This is like...
Yeah, I think, so why don't they just argue with that? Why do we need to have relations with these bad countries in the first place? And why would it be wrong of us to set a standard that they might be willing to comply with? I mean, we're not saying you can't be assholes. We're just saying you can't be colossal, motherfucking insane assholes. Shit.
Entrapment, right? I mean, we could all be guilty of making foolish mistakes, right? We all get drunk. We all do stupid shit. All right, so this could be me.
I don't think you can say it's entrapment.
Okay, this was great, right? Now, DPR Jones is a lawyer. He's a lawyer. And now he just said, I don't think you could call it entrapment because...
Not entrapment if he actually was in possession.
But what I'm saying is that...
Because if he was actually in possession of the joints. So he doesn't, you know, he made a mistake, okay. I'm sure he knows, he understands that everybody caught under an entrapment law is in possession, okay. I mean, DeLorean had the cocaine and he sold the cocaine, all right. But it was demonstrated that he was basically seduced to do it. So if I'm in Indonesia and some guy comes up to me, you know, a plant from the government, you know, and he speaks my language even, and he's talking about what a great club this is, and hey, you want a couple of doobies, bud? And, you know, this is what they do. They try to seduce me into paying 25 cents for a marijuana joint, and then they decide to throw me in a dungeon for 12 years. That's entrapment. And I'm saying when you create a law that nobody's obeying, okay, and that you only decide, you're going to just say, it's like if your local cops, okay, let's say they routinely give out 1,000 tickets a month. Let's just say that would be the number, 1,000 speeding tickets. And all of a sudden they decide, no, just pick out 10, only 10 tickets a month, all right, and you let them loose. And just said, go give 10 tickets to anybody you feel like giving 10 tickets to, right? So they're going to pick out people, they're going to profile them automatically. And so it's going to be a kind of entrapment, a kind of profiling entrapment / entrapment. You know, you're going to let people speed, but you're going to sit there and persecute a minority of people guilty, and you're going to persecute them by your standards, and your standards can be anything. And I'm going to argue that maybe it is quite factually provable that statistically the employees of Nike and 7-Eleven or Subway or Nestle or all these other companies don't get bothered with the foreign national employees, and maybe even the domestic employees of those companies, because that would create a tension between them and the commerce. So commerce makes a difference. And I might argue that the reason why Derived Energy is in jail is because he wasn't working for a big corporation. Running out of disk space, so I have to cut this into pieces, I guess. Son of a bitch. Let's just do one more little tiny clip.
Entrapment in the sense that obviously the marijuana joints didn't cost $5 million. So obviously there's plenty of drugs in Indonesia. So people do use it socially. Okay, it is an accessible drug in Indonesia. So what I'm saying is if you have a law, like say I make a jaywalking law, and I only kill 1 in a million jaywalkers, but I have a death sentence for jaywalking. Obviously, everybody's going to be sucked in by, oh, they never enforced the law, it's okay to jaywalk, I'm going to be lucky. Everybody's going to think they're lucky. When everybody speeds, you know speeding is wrong, you know it's jeopardizing your life, but you still do it because you think, I'm going to get away with it. It's human nature.
Just out of interest, would you draw the line with just marijuana, or would you include other drugs like LSD and cocaine in there?
All right.